Think you're tough because you survived a power outage for 6 hours. You wouldn't make it through breakfast in the Dark Ages. While we complain about slow Wi-Fi and cold coffee, medieval people faced horrors that would send you running back to your climate-controlled apartment faster than a plague victim fleeing a city. Today, we're diving into the brutal reality of what life was actually like in medieval times. And trust me, it's nothing like the romanticized fairy tales you've seen on screen. Forget everything Hollywood has taught you about gallant knights and elegant princesses living in pristine castles. The truth is far more disturbing, and by the end of this video, you'll be kissing your smartphone and thanking whatever deity you believe in that you were born in the 21st century. We're about to explore a world where a simple scratch could mean death, where your morning routine involved dodging human waste, falling from windows, and where the concept of personal hygiene was as foreign as space travel. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. These weren't primitive cave dwellers we're talking about. These were human beings just like us, with the same basic needs, desires, and intelligence. They built magnificent cathedrals that still stand today, created intricate art, and developed complex societies. Yet their daily existence was so harsh, so unforgiving, that most of us wouldn't survive a single day in their world. The moment you wake up in medieval times, your problems begin immediately. That comfortable mattress you're used to, gone. Instead, you're lying on a straw-filled sack that's home to more insects than a nature documentary. The straw hasn't been changed in months, and it's crawling with fleas, lice, and other creatures that consider you their personal buffet. Your first sensation isn't the gentle buzz of an alarm clock, but the sharp bite of bedbugs that have been feasting on your blood all night. There's no snooze button in the Dark Ages. You wake up when the sun rises, because that's your only reliable light source. Candles are expensive luxury items that most people can't afford to waste on sleeping in. The room around you is a single space where your entire family lives, works, eats, and sleeps together. Privacy is a concept that won't be invented for several more centuries. That awkward moment when you need to use the bathroom. Everyone's watching, and they're probably judging your technique. Speaking of bathrooms, prepare yourself for the most traumatic part of your medieval morning routine. There's no porcelain throne waiting for you, no soft toilet paper, and definitely no air freshener. Instead, you have a wooden bucket that serves as your toilet, and it's probably overflowing from last night's use. The smell hits you like a physical force, a combination of human waste, rotting food, and unwashed bodies that would make a garbage truck seem fragrant by comparison. When nature calls in medieval times, you answer with whatever's available. Leaves if you're lucky enough to live near trees, scraps of rough cloth if your family can afford it, or more commonly, your left hand followed by a quick wipe on whatever's handy. The 3 seashell system from Demolition Man would seem like advanced technology to a medieval peasant. Toilet paper won't be invented for another few centuries, so you'd better get comfortable with alternatives that would horrify modern germaphobes. But the real nightmare begins when it's time to empty that bucket. In cities and towns, the standard procedure is to simply open your window and dump the contents into the street below. There's a warning system in place, sort of. People are supposed to shout before throwing waste from their windows, giving pedestrians a few seconds to dodge the incoming biological warfare. The streets of medieval cities aren't paved with gold. They're paved with something far less pleasant, and you have to navigate through it every single day. After surviving your morning bathroom experience, it's time for breakfast, and this is where your 21st century stomach would stage a full rebellion. Forget about checking expiration dates or worrying about food safety regulations. Those concepts don't exist yet. Your typical medieval breakfast consists of whatever didn't kill someone yesterday, seasoned with hope and desperation. The main staple of medieval life is bread. But this isn't the soft, fluffy loaves you grab from the grocery store. Medieval bread is dense, dark, and often contains ingredients that would make a health inspector faint. The flour is ground between stone wheels, and pieces of the grinding stones regularly chip off into the mix. Every bite is literally a roll of the dice, as you never know if you're chewing grain or granite. Your teeth, assuming you still have any, will wear down from constantly grinding against stone particles embedded in your daily bread. But the stone fragments are just the beginning of your breakfast nightmare. Much of the grain used for bread is infected with ergot, a fungus that grows on rye and other cereals. Ergot poisoning causes hallucinations, convulsions, and a burning sensation in your extremities that feels like your limbs are on fire. Entire villages would sometimes experience mass hallucinations after eating contaminated bread, leading to witch hunts and other forms of collective madness. Your morning toast might literally drive you insane. If you're fortunate enough to have anything besides bread, your options are equally unappetizing. Meat is available occasionally, but it's usually spoiled or on the verge of spoiling. Without refrigeration, preservation methods rely on salt, smoke, or simply eating the animal before it rots completely. The smell alone would make you nostalgic for gas station hot dogs. Spices are used not for flavor, but to mask the taste and smell of decay. If you can't afford spices, you just hold your breath and chew quickly. Vegetables exist, but they're usually boiled into a grey, tasteless mush called pottage. This watery soup serves as the foundation of most meals, and it's prepared in large pots that are rarely cleaned properly. The same pot might be used for days or weeks at a time, with new ingredients added to whatever's left from previous meals. It's like a perpetual stew of questionable origins and even more questionable hygiene standards. The water situation is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of medieval dining. Drinking water is essentially a death sentence because every source is contaminated with human waste, dead animals, and various other toxic substances. Rivers serve as both water supply and sewage system, creating a deadly cocktail that would hospitalize anyone with a modern immune system within hours. Instead of water, everyone drinks alcohol. Not the fun kind of alcohol that makes parties better, but weak beer and ale that's safer than water, simply because the brewing process kills some of the harmful bacteria. Children start drinking alcohol as soon as they're weaned from breast milk. A typical medieval peasant consumes several pints of ale every day, not for pleasure, but for survival. 5-year-old kids are walking around with a constant buzz because the alternative is dying from waterborne diseases. Medieval parenting advice didn't include limiting screen time. It included making sure your toddler had access to alcohol at every meal. By the time you've choked down your stone-filled bread and mystery meat, washed down with weak ale that tastes like it was brewed in a boot, your modern sensibilities are already shattered. But this is just breakfast. You still have an entire day ahead of you, and it only gets worse from here. The workday begins before sunrise and ends after sunset, assuming you survive that long. The concept of weekends doesn't exist, and vacation time is measured in minutes, not days. Most people are farmers, which means your office is a muddy field filled with animal waste, and your co-workers are oxen who smell better than you do. You'll plow fields using wooden tools that would make a caveman laugh, plant seeds by hand in soil that's more dirt than earth, and harvest crops with tools that barely qualify as sharp objects. The physical demands of medieval farm work would break modern people within hours. You're burning over 4,000 calories per day just from basic labor, but you're only consuming enough food to provide about half that energy. Your body starts eating itself from the inside out, and what little muscle mass you had when you arrived quickly disappears. Medieval farmers didn't need gym memberships because their daily routine was more intense than any CrossFit workout ever invented. If farming isn't your calling, the alternative careers are equally brutal. Blacksmiths spend their days in smoke-filled forges, breathing toxic fumes and risking severe burns with every hammer blow. The life expectancy of a medieval blacksmith is measured in years, not decades. Tanners work with animal hides using chemicals and processes that would violate every environmental protection law ever written. Their skin turns yellow from chemical exposure, and they smell so bad that they're banned from most social gatherings. The apprenticeship system means that children as young as 7 are sent away from their families to learn trades. These kids work 14-hour days, 7 days a week, for up to 15 years before they're considered skilled enough to work independently. Child labour laws won't be invented for several more centuries, so 7-year-olds are expected to perform dangerous tasks that would give modern safety inspectors nightmares. Your medieval paycheck, assuming you get paid at all, barely covers basic survival needs. A day labourer might earn enough to buy 2 loaves of bread, which means your entire day's wages go toward preventing starvation for 24 hours. There's no saving for retirement, no emergency fund, and no social safety net. If you get injured and can't work, you simply die. It's that straightforward. The working conditions would make modern sweatshops seem luxurious by comparison. There are no safety regulations, no workers' compensation, and no concept of liability. If a tool breaks and injures you, that's your problem. If you fall into a forge and get burned, you'd better hope someone nearby knows how to treat third-degree burns with medieval medicine, which consists primarily of prayer and wishful thinking. By midday, your body is already breaking down from the physical demands, your stomach is cramping from the toxic breakfast, and your medieval career is slowly killing you from the inside out. But the worst part isn't the physical suffering, it's the knowledge that this is your life forever. There's no escape, no advancement, and no hope that tomorrow will be any different from today. The afternoon brings new horrors that make your morning struggles seem like a pleasant warm-up. As the sun reaches its peak, so does the stench rising from the streets around you. The combination of human waste, rotting animal carcasses, and industrial runoff creates an atmospheric assault that would make a modern sewage treatment plant seem like a perfume factory. You're not just smelling this nightmare, you're breathing it, tasting it, and feeling it seep into your clothes and skin. Medical emergencies in medieval times aren't emergencies at all. They're death sentences with extra steps. That small cut on your hand from handling rough tools. It's about to become your worst enemy. Without antiseptics, antibiotics, or even basic understanding of infection, what starts as a minor scratch transforms into a spreading infection that turns your arm into a swollen, pus-filled nightmare. The medieval medical response to infection is to cut deeper, hoping to drain out the bad blood, which naturally makes everything infinitely worse. Medieval doctors operate on the principle that your body contains 4 humours that must remain balanced. Blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile need to exist in perfect harmony, and any illness means one of these is out of whack. The solution is always the same regardless of your symptoms. Too much blood? Let's drain some out. Not enough blood? Let's drain some out anyway, just to be safe. Medieval medicine has the diagnostic precision of a magic 8-ball and the treatment effectiveness of a chocolate teapot. Bloodletting is the aspirin of medieval medicine, prescribed for everything from headaches to broken bones. They'll slice open a vein in your arm and let you bleed into a bowl while you watch your life force literally drain away. The theory is that bad blood causes illness, so removing blood removes illness. The reality is that you're already malnourished and anemic from your terrible diet, and losing more blood just accelerates your journey toward the afterlife. If bloodletting doesn't appeal to you, there's always the leech option. Medieval physicians applied dozens of blood-sucking parasites to your skin, letting them feast on your blood while you lie there wondering how your life led to this moment. Some treatments call for 70 leeches at once, turning you into a human buffet for creatures that look like they crawled out of a nightmare. The leeches are reused between patients, so you're not just getting blood-sucking therapy, you're also getting a bonus dose of whatever diseases the previous patient was carrying. Dental care in the Dark Ages makes modern root canals seem like spa treatments. Tooth decay is universal because nobody understands dental hygiene, and the available treatments would make waterboarding seem pleasant by comparison. Medieval dentists don't have Novocaine, laughing gas, or even clean instruments. They have pliers, determination, and a complete disregard for your screaming. Tooth extraction involves grabbing the offending tooth with metal tools and yanking until something gives way. Hopefully the tooth and not your jawbone. The medicines available are often more dangerous than the diseases they're supposed to treat. Mercury is prescribed for skin conditions, syphilis, and general malaise, slowly poisoning patients while pretending to cure them. Lead-based compounds treat everything from stomach problems to mental illness, gradually destroying your nervous system while your doctor congratulates himself on your improved complexion. Medieval pharmaceuticals have the safety profile of drinking industrial waste and the effectiveness of wishful thinking. Pain management consists of alcohol, prayer, and biting down on leather strips, while someone performs medical procedures that would be considered torture in modern times. Surgery happens without anesthesia, antiseptics, or even clean instruments. Surgeons use the same knife to cut bread, clean their fingernails, and perform operations, sterilizing nothing and wondering why their patients keep dying from mysterious post-surgical complications. Women face additional medical nightmares that make standard medieval healthcare look pleasant. Pregnancy and childbirth are essentially death sentences with a small chance of survival. Maternal mortality rates hover around 30%, meaning every pregnancy is a coin flip with death. There are no prenatal vitamins, no ultrasounds, and no understanding of basic obstetrics. Midwives rely on superstition, herbal remedies that often make things worse, and pure luck to deliver babies safely. Mental illness is attributed to demonic possession, bad air, or moral failings. The treatment involves exorcism, bloodletting, or imprisonment in conditions that would drive sane people insane. Depression and anxiety are character flaws to be beaten out of people, not medical conditions requiring treatment and understanding. Medieval mental health care makes medieval physical health care look advanced and compassionate. As evening approaches, you realize that surviving one day has required more luck than skill. Every meal could poison you, every injury could kill you, and every breath exposes you to diseases that your immune system has never encountered. The mortality statistics are staggering. 30% of children die before their 5th birthday, and the average life expectancy hovers somewhere between 30 and 40 years, assuming you survive childhood at all. The justice system offers no refuge from daily horrors because it's designed to create new ones. Laws vary wildly between regions, and what's perfectly legal in one village could result in execution just miles away. There are no standardized legal codes, no constitutional rights, and no presumption of innocence. Being accused of a crime is essentially the same as being convicted, and the punishments are designed to serve as public entertainment rather than actual justice. Theft of property worth more than 12 pence carries the death penalty, which means stealing enough food to survive one day could result in your execution. Cutting down a tree in the king's forest is also a capital offence, as is poaching animals when you're starving. The legal system protects property over human life, ensuring that the poor stay poor and the dead stay dead. Trials by ordeal replace actual evidence and logical reasoning. If you're accused of a crime, you might be forced to carry red-hot iron bars to prove your innocence. If the burns heal cleanly within 3 days, you're innocent. If they become infected, which is virtually guaranteed without modern medicine, you're guilty and executed. The trial by water involves being tied up and thrown into a river. Sinking means innocence. Floating means guilt and death. Either way, your chances of survival are roughly equivalent to winning the lottery while being struck by lightning. Public executions draw massive crowds because entertainment options are severely limited. Watching someone being hanged, drawn, and quartered is considered a fun family outing, complete with food vendors and carnival atmosphere. Children learn about justice by watching people being tortured to death in the town square while their parents cheer and place bets on how long the condemned will survive. The social hierarchy is absolutely rigid, with zero possibility for advancement. 90% of the population are peasants who own nothing, control nothing, and can expect nothing beyond a lifetime of back-breaking labor, followed by an early death. Social mobility is not just unlikely, it's literally impossible under the feudal system. You're born into your station, you work in your station, and you die in your station, with no hope of anything better for yourself or your children. By nightfall, you're exhausted beyond anything you've ever experienced, but sleep offers no relief from the medieval nightmare. Your straw mattress is alive with insects that consider you their personal food source. The single room you share with your family offers no privacy, no comfort, and no escape from the sounds, smells, and sights of medieval life. Every breath reminds you of the toxic air you've been breathing all day. Every movement reminds you of the physical punishment your body has endured. And every moment reminds you that tomorrow will be exactly the same as today, assuming you survive the night. The darkness brings its own terrors. Without electric lights, the world transforms into a realm of shadows and unknown dangers. Strange sounds echo through the night, and your imagination, fed by superstition and genuine fear, transforms every noise into evidence of witches, demons, or other supernatural threats that medieval people genuinely believe are hunting them. Crime doesn't sleep in medieval times, and neither do you. Bandits and outlaws roam the countryside after dark, preying on travelers and isolated farmhouses. There's no police force to call, no emergency services to summon, and no legal protection for common folk. If criminals break into your home, your only defense is whatever makeshift weapon you can grab in the darkness. Most people sleep with knives under their straw mattresses, not for comfort, but because violent death could arrive at any moment without warning. The night watch consists of elderly men too old for regular work, armed with little more than wooden clubs and loud voices. Their primary qualification isn't strength or training, but willingness to work for almost nothing while everyone else sleeps. These geriatric guardians are about as effective as a chocolate sword against armed criminals who've spent their lives perfecting violence as a survival skill. Winter nights bring additional horrors that make summer seem like paradise. Without central heating, insulation, or even proper windows, your living space becomes a frozen tomb that slowly saps your body heat throughout the night. People huddle together for warmth, sharing body heat, and breathing each other's exhaled air in spaces so small that personal boundaries become meaningless. Frostbite is common, and many people lose fingers, toes, or worse to the relentless cold. Firewood is expensive and scarce, so most families can only afford to heat their homes for a few hours each day. The rest of the time, you're essentially camping indoors during a blizzard, except your tent is made of thin wooden walls that do nothing to block the wind. Ice forms on the inside of buildings, and your breath creates clouds of vapor that freeze before dissipating. Sleeping means wrapping yourself in whatever scraps of cloth you own and hoping you wake up with all your extremities still functional. Food becomes even scarcer during winter months, and what little you've managed to store starts rotting or gets eaten by rats and other vermin. Starvation is a constant companion, gnawing at your stomach and weakening your body when you need strength most to survive the cold. Many families run out of food entirely by late winter, surviving on tree bark, grass, and whatever else they can find that won't immediately poison them. The psychological toll of medieval life would break modern minds within days. Every aspect of existence is governed by fear, superstition, and the constant awareness that death could arrive at any moment from countless sources. There's no therapy, no counseling, and no understanding of mental health. People who suffer psychological breaks are considered possessed by demons or cursed by witches, leading to treatments that would be classified as torture in any civilized society. Religious extremism dominates every thought and action, creating a worldview where natural disasters, diseases, and personal misfortunes are interpreted as divine punishment for moral failings. Earthquakes mean God is angry. Eclipses signal the end times, and crop failures indicate that someone in the community has sinned against heaven. This constant state of spiritual terror adds another layer of stress to lives already overwhelmed by physical suffering. The church controls information, education, and moral guidance, but their version of spiritual comfort involves graphic descriptions of eternal damnation awaiting anyone who steps out of line. Medieval sermons focus heavily on the torments of hell, describing in vivid detail the punishments awaiting sinners in the afterlife. Instead of providing hope and comfort, religious instruction increases anxiety and paranoia among populations already struggling with daily survival. Superstition fills every gap in knowledge, creating a world where logical thinking is replaced by magical beliefs that often make situations worse. Illness is caused by evil spirits, crop failures result from witchcraft, and natural phenomena are interpreted as supernatural messages requiring immediate action. This mindset leads to witch hunts, religious persecution, and mob violence against anyone who seems different or unlucky. The communication system relies entirely on word of mouth, creating an environment where rumors spread faster than facts and misinformation becomes accepted truth. News from other regions arrives weeks or months after events occur, and the information has usually been distorted beyond recognition through multiple retellings. Living in this information vacuum means making life or death decisions based on gossip, speculation, and stories that may have no connection to reality. Isolation is both physical and intellectual. Most people never travel more than a few miles from their birthplace during their entire lives, creating insular communities where new ideas are viewed with suspicion and change is actively resisted. The outside world might as well be another planet, and contact with foreign cultures or different ways of thinking is virtually non-existent for common people. Education is reserved for the wealthy and powerful, leaving the vast majority of the population illiterate and innumerate. Without reading skills, people can't access written knowledge, learn from books, or communicate over long distances. Mathematical concepts beyond basic counting are unknown to most people, making complex planning, engineering, or scientific thinking impossible for the general population. The feudal system creates a rigid caste structure that determines every aspect of your life from birth to death. Social mobility is not just difficult, it's literally prohibited by law and custom. Peasants are legally bound to the land they work, unable to leave without permission from their lord. This isn't just social pressure, it's legal slavery disguised as traditional obligation. Your lord owns you in every meaningful sense, controlling where you live, what work you do, whom you can marry, and even whether your children can learn to read. Disobedience results in punishment ranging from public humiliation to physical violence or death. The feudal contract binds you to a life of servitude with no possibility of escape or improvement. Women face additional restrictions that make their medieval existence even more constrained than men's lives. They can't own property, can't make legal decisions, and are essentially treated as possessions to be traded between male relatives and husbands. Marriage is an economic transaction where women are currency, not participants. Their opinions don't matter, their desires are irrelevant, and their primary value is measured by their ability to produce male heirs. Violence against women is not only tolerated, but legally protected under medieval law. Husbands can beat their wives as long as the stick is no thicker than their thumb, giving rise to the phrase, rule of thumb. Rape is considered a property crime against the woman's male relatives, not a violent assault against the woman herself. Female victims of sexual violence are often blamed for tempting men into sin, adding social shame to physical trauma. The legal system offers no protection for the poor, the weak, or the different. Justice is purchased by those who can afford it, while everyone else faces a system designed to extract confessions through torture and execute people for entertainment. Courts are theatrical productions where the outcome is predetermined based on social status rather than evidence or truth. Punishments are designed to be as public and horrifying as possible, serving as both entertainment and warning to potential lawbreakers. Public executions become community festivals, where families bring picnic lunches to watch people being tortured to death. The methods of execution are carefully crafted to maximize suffering and create spectacles that will be remembered and discussed for months afterward. Imprisonment is rare because maintaining prisoners costs money that authorities prefer to spend elsewhere. Instead of long-term incarceration, punishments focus on immediate physical pain, public humiliation, or death. Jails are temporary holding cells where people await trial or execution, not places for rehabilitation or long-term punishment. The concept of human rights doesn't exist in any recognizable form. People are classified by their usefulness to those in power, and individual dignity is subordinate to social order and economic productivity. Personal freedom is a luxury reserved for the wealthy and powerful, while everyone else exists to serve the system that keeps them trapped in poverty and ignorance. By dawn, you've survived your first night in the Dark Ages, but survival isn't the same as living. Every system designed to protect modern people from harm, disease, violence, and exploitation is absent from medieval society. What we consider basic human needs, medieval people view as impossible luxuries reserved for saints and kings. The morning sun doesn't bring hope or renewal, it brings another day identical to the one before. Another day of backbreaking labor for starvation wages. Another day of dodging disease and violence. Another day of watching people die from preventable causes, while pretending that suffering is God's will and complaining is sinful ingratitude. Your modern immune system hasn't adapted to medieval pathogens. Your digestive system can't process medieval food, and your psychological resilience hasn't been conditioned to handle medieval brutality. Within hours, you'd be incapacitated by illness, injured by unsafe working conditions, or overwhelmed by the sheer hopelessness of existence in a world where tomorrow never offers anything better than today. The romantic notion of medieval life as a simpler, more authentic existence crumbles under the weight of historical reality. These weren't the good old days. They were humanity's darkest chapters, periods when survival required accepting levels of suffering that modern people can't even imagine. Every comfort we take for granted, every right we assume is natural, and every protection we expect from society represents centuries of progress away from the medieval nightmare. Your 24-hour experiment in Dark Ages living would end with desperate prayers for a time machine back to the 21st century, where antibiotics cure diseases that killed millions, where clean water flows from taps, where food safety prevents mass poisoning, and where human dignity is considered a birthright rather than an impossible dream. The Dark Ages earned their name through centuries of human misery that make modern problems seem trivial by comparison. Traffic jams, internet outages, and long lines at coffee shops pale in comparison to plague, famine, and the daily brutality that defined medieval existence for the vast majority of humanity. So maybe you think you could adapt, that humans are naturally resilient creatures, capable of overcoming any hardship. That's the kind of optimistic thinking that would get you killed before lunch on your second day. Because surviving the Dark Ages isn't just about enduring physical discomfort. It's about navigating a world where every single institution designed to protect human life has been replaced by systems designed to exploit, control, and ultimately destroy you. Let's talk about what happens when you get sick. Because in medieval times, illness isn't an inconvenience to be treated with over-the-counter medication. It's a death sentence written in symptoms that modern medicine would cure with a simple prescription. That headache you're experiencing from dehydration and stress. Medieval physicians will drill a hole in your skull to release the evil spirits causing your pain. The procedure is called trepanation, and it's performed without anesthesia using tools that haven't been cleaned since the last patient died on the table. Your fever from drinking contaminated water will be treated by covering you in fresh animal dung, because medieval medical theory suggests that the heat from decomposing feces will draw out the illness from your body. The logic is flawless. if you ignore basic biology, chemistry, and common sense. When that doesn't work, they'll place live chickens on your chest, believing that the birds will absorb your sickness and fly away with your disease. The chickens usually die from the shock, but that's considered proof that the treatment is working. Broken bones are set using splints made from whatever wood is available, often contaminated with insects and fungus. The bones heal crooked because medieval understanding of anatomy is roughly equivalent to a child's drawing of the human body. Casts don't exist, so your broken leg will be immobilized by tying it to a board with strips of cloth that haven't been washed since they were first woven. Infection is guaranteed, amputation is probable, and survival is optional. Mental illness receives even more creative treatments that make physical medicine look sophisticated by comparison. If you're experiencing what we'd recognize as depression or anxiety, medieval healers will chain you to a wall in a dark cellar until the demons possessing your mind decide to leave. The treatment can last months or years, during which time you'll be fed scraps of moldy bread and water that's been sitting in the same bucket used for waste disposal. Schizophrenia and other psychological disorders are clear evidence of witchcraft or demonic possession, requiring immediate intervention by religious authorities who specialize in spiritual warfare. The exorcism process involves beating you with blessed sticks, forcing you to drink holy water mixed with various herbs that are often toxic, and shouting prayers at maximum volume until you either recover or die from the treatment. Recovery is rare, but death is considered a successful banishment of evil spirits. Women suffering from what we'd now recognize as postpartum depression are obviously possessed by demons attracted to the impurity of childbirth. The cure involves purification rituals that include being buried up to your neck in consecrated soil for 3 days and nights, while priests perform ceremonies designed to drive out the evil spirits. If you survive the burial, the demons are gone. If you die, the demons have been destroyed along with their host body, which is still considered a successful outcome. The medical instruments available would make a torture chamber seem well equipped by comparison. Surgical knives are sharpened farm tools that have been used for everything from cutting meat to cleaning fingernails. Saws for amputations are the same tools used for cutting wood, often borrowed from carpenters who continue using them for construction projects after they've been used to remove human limbs. Sterilization is accomplished by wiping instruments on the surgeon's already filthy clothes. Anesthesia consists of alcohol, opium if you're wealthy enough to afford it, or a wooden stick to bite down on, while someone performs procedures that would be considered war crimes in modern times. Pain management philosophy is straightforward. If you're screaming, you're still alive, which means the treatment is working. Unconsciousness is considered a sign of weakness, rather than a natural response to having your limbs sawed off without proper medical care. The understanding of disease transmission is so fundamentally wrong that medical treatments often spread illness faster than they cure it. Physicians move from patient to patient without washing their hands, sharing the same instruments between people with different diseases, and reusing bandages that are stiff with dried blood and pus from previous patients. Hospitals are places where sick people go to die faster, not recover more quickly. Plague outbreaks occur regularly because nobody understands that fleas and rats spread disease. The medical response to bubonic plague involves bleeding patients who are already dying from blood poisoning, giving them mercury compounds that destroy their nervous systems, and gathering large groups of sick people in enclosed spaces where the disease spreads more efficiently. Medieval pandemic response makes modern anti-vaccine movements look like advanced scientific thinking. Surgical procedures are performed in whatever room happens to be available, often the same space used for cooking meals and housing livestock. Operating tables are wooden planks that have been used for butchering animals and preparing food. The surgical environment contains more bacteria per square inch than a modern sewage treatment facility, guaranteeing that any procedure will result in massive infection, even if the surgery itself is technically successful. Medical education consists of memorizing ancient texts, written by Greek and Roman physicians who had no understanding of anatomy, disease, or basic biology. Medieval doctors learn medicine by reading books filled with incorrect information, then practice their skills on patients who have no choice but to submit to treatments that are guaranteed to make their conditions worse. The Hippocratic Oath's promise to, first, do no harm, has been replaced with, first, try anything that might work, and if the patient dies, blame it on God's will. Pharmaceutical knowledge is based on superstition, astrology, and random experimentation on desperate patients. Mercury is prescribed for everything from skin conditions to mental illness, slowly poisoning patients, while doctors congratulate themselves on the improved complexion of people who are dying from heavy metal toxicity. Lead compounds treat stomach problems by destroying the digestive system from the inside out. Arsenic is used as a general tonic for improving health and vitality, which it does by killing patients before their other illnesses have time to progress. Childbirth is essentially a death sentence that occasionally results in live babies. Maternal mortality rates approach 30% because nobody understands basic obstetrics, sterile technique, or emergency medical procedures. Midwives rely on prayer, herbal remedies that often cause more harm than good, and folk wisdom that has been passed down through generations of women who had no formal medical training. Caesarean sections are performed only after the mother has died, and the procedure is designed to save the baby's soul for baptism rather than save lives. Pregnancy complications that modern medicine handles routinely become fatal emergencies in medieval times. Breech births result in the deaths of both mother and child because nobody knows how to safely turn babies in the womb. Hemorrhaging after delivery is treated by packing the woman's body with herbs and animal dung, creating infections that kill more women than the original bleeding. Twins are considered evidence of adultery or witchcraft, leading to social ostracism that often results in the abandonment or murder of both mother and children. Infant mortality is so common that many families don't name their children until they reach their first birthday, assuming they'll survive that long. Babies die from preventable diseases, malnutrition, exposure to cold, and simple infections that would be easily treated with modern antibiotics. Childhood diseases like measles, mumps, and whooping cough kill more children than they spare, creating a society where having numerous children is necessary because most of them won't live to adulthood. The few children who survive infancy face additional challenges that would traumatize modern families. Child labor begins as soon as children are physically capable of performing simple tasks, usually around age 4 or 5. Education is reserved for the wealthy, leaving most children illiterate and innumerate throughout their entire lives. Physical discipline includes beating children with sticks, burning them with hot irons for serious infractions, and public humiliation designed to break their spirits before they develop ideas about personal autonomy or individual rights. Orphaned children become property of whoever claims them first, often ending up as unpaid laborers in conditions that make modern sweatshops seem humane by comparison. There are no child protection services, no legal safeguards against abuse, and no social institutions designed to ensure children's welfare. Abandoned babies are left to die from exposure, and society considers this a natural form of population control rather than infanticide. The marriage system treats women as property to be traded between male relatives and prospective husbands. Young girls are married off as soon as they reach puberty, often to much older men who view them as breeding stock and household servants rather than human partners. Wedding ceremonies are business transactions where fathers negotiate dowries and inheritance rights, while the bride's opinions are considered irrelevant to the proceedings. Domestic violence is not only tolerated but legally protected under medieval law. Husbands can beat their wives as long as the weapon is no thicker than their thumb, giving rise to legal precedents that protect men's right to physically discipline women who disobey or displease them. Sexual assault within marriage is impossible by legal definition because wives are considered property that husbands can use however they choose. Divorce is virtually impossible trapping women in abusive relationships for their entire lives. Women who fail to produce male heirs face social ostracism, religious condemnation, and often physical violence from husbands who blame them for genetic outcomes they cannot control. Infertility is considered evidence of moral failing or divine punishment, leading to treatments that include drinking mercury compounds, having sexual intercourse with multiple partners to increase conception chances, and undergoing painful procedures designed to open blocked passages that don't actually exist. So the next time you complain about your internet being slow or your coffee getting cold, remember what we've uncovered today. The Dark Ages weren't just a different time. They were a different species of human suffering that would destroy everything you think you know about hardship. Your ancestors didn't survive medieval times because they were tougher than you. They survived because they had no choice. And most of them didn't survive at all. Every convenience you take for granted represents centuries of human progress away from a world where tomorrow was never promised and today was barely tolerable. You wouldn't last 24 hours in the Dark Ages, and honestly, that's probably the best compliment anyone could give to the civilization we've built since then.